So something that I've noticed with my HDZero AIO board on my 65mm Tiny Whoop is that the battery doesn't last as long as my analog whoop. Now, I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the weight or the electronics, but it doesn't really matter. So I decided I'm just gonna test it out, and I might as well just document it in case anybody else cares at all. So Tiny Whoop battery life is already pretty limited just due to the fact that you can only put so big of a battery on a Tiny Whoop. And so I'm just curious if the digital aspect of HDZero, specifically the HDZero AIO, drains that battery just a little bit more. The two Tiny Whoops that I'll be using are basically the same. So the motors and the frame are the same. The only thing that's different are the flight controllers, obviously. Now, the first thing that I want to do right now is get the weight of each of these Tiny Whoops, just to put that out there. I don't know if it really matters that much. I mean, obviously weight does matter in terms of how long it flies. This scale is a little strange. It's just a kitchen scale, so I'm not getting super minute milligrams or anything like that. But let's just say, for the sake of science, I guess, or the sake of rough estimations, the HDZero Tiny Whoop with the battery is 29 grams. The weight of the analog Tiny Whoop is 26 grams, 27, 26. It just changes. It just like fluctuates. So it's somewhere between 26 and 27. What's really important is the weight difference between the two is 2 grams. Now, the batteries that I'll be using are your standard folded cell, 300 milliamp hour, high voltage LiPo. These specifically are from Aerial Outlaws, and they're called the Boomsticks. But for the most part, all of these folded cell Tiny Whoop LiPos are basically the same, and I think they all just have different stickers on them, depending on who's selling them. But I'm using both from the exact same manufacturer, so I know that I'm getting at least the closest possible results that I can get. So we're just gonna see how much longer the battery lasts on the analog versus the HDZero. Because I already know that the battery doesn't last as long on the HDZero, but we're just gonna find out how much longer it lasts. Now, this is all gonna be super scientific, very, very scientific. There's so much science involved in this that it might get a little confusing. But the first test that I'm gonna do is just a basic hover test. I'm just gonna hover, not do a lot of crazy throttle movements, just hover and see how long it goes until I get the land now message. That's it. Once I see the land now OSD, that's when it stops. There's one thing you can notice too is from when I arm and take off, the battery sag on HDZero drops way below 4 volts, way quicker than the analog. That's one thing that we want to keep in mind here. Now, I'm not going to play the entire duration of these flights because it's kind of boring, but if you do want to see the entire duration of these flights in full, you can go check out my Patreon and sign up for that, and I'll post it there. So the results of the hover test are way more surprising than I thought. I knew that the battery life of the HDZero AIO was significantly lower than my analog drone, but I didn't know by this much. Basically, I'm starting it from where I arm the quad, and then I end it at when the quad says land now. And HDZero lasted about 3 minutes and 4 seconds, whereas the analog lasted 5 minutes and 36 seconds, which that's a considerable amount of battery that you get with the analog quad versus an HDZero Tiny Whoop. So the next test is going to be the freestyle test, where I'll take each quad and fly it around a little bit more aggressively, just see how long it'll last, just doing a normal flight that I would normally do with my Tiny Whoops. With the freestyle footage, not as much of a gap as the hover test. So when HDZero gave me the land now notification in my OSD, it was at 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Now the analog land now alert on my OSD came up at about 3 minutes and 18 seconds. That's roughly about a minute more flight time you'll get with analog than you will with the HDZero AIO. You know, there's a lot of variables here that I don't have control over. Like, in the freestyle test, it was a little windy outside, so that probably affected the battery life just a little bit more. But the conditions were pretty much the same for both flights, so if you want an extra minute don't use the AIO. But if you don't care about that extra minute, then use it or don't. I don't know. It's not really my problem. It's up to you to decide. I'm not going to tell you what to do.